there's enablers and then there's disablers.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So we definitely took a stand for bamboo in a way that nobody else had. First with the Green School, then with Green Village, and then from there, we built over 200 unique structures. There's a lot of people that are eroding the reputation of bamboo by, just quite frankly, doing things that they shouldn't really be doing. Doing the right thing and making money are not always aligned.
Yeah.
I was a bit of a problem in primary school. They decided to send me to school in New York.
How did that feel, though,
Terrifying.
Okay.
Terrifying. I talk about Bali and all the kids would look at me funny and tell me to be quiet. I think a lot of what I do is really connected to teaching people that they have agency and there are multiple ways to behave, and just because we're raised to believe in certain things actually is our choice.
Welcome to For People, For Earth, For Us podcast, where we talk about the human story, the world around us, and the choices that connect them. Bali is at a tipping point. We have a huge trash problems and over-tourism. This episode is about balancing growth, profits, and sustainability, and what it costs to stay aligned with your values. I'm joined by Orin Hardy, longtime friend, pioneer in bamboo building and sustainability in Bali. Orin, take it away.
Hi, Ria.
Hi.
I love your new podcast studio. It's very fancy.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I know that you have been so busy, but yeah, I'm grateful to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Can you tell us about yourself?
About myself?
Yeah.
Wait, I need to ask Claude. No, I'm just kidding. I won't ask Claude. That basically sums up life in the world these days. I feel like, who am I?
Yeah, who are you? Without looking at Claude or maybe you're Gemini yourself.
Myself. It's a really good question. I think I've really been reflecting on how the pace of the world and all the stuff that's going on really takes away from our capacity to self-reflect and really think about who we are and really connect with, what are our deeper values? What do we actually care about? What are we doing here? Who are we? What is the meaning of the universe?
So many questions.
So many questions. But first and foremost, I, like to think of myself as a human.
Yeah. Definitely human.
not an android. Or
OS?
some other iOS thing. So, and I think, just another person trying to be a good human, trying to be a good dad, be a good husband, navigate my way through this wonderful, wild, and slightly terrifying world we all live in.
It's true. But you're more than that because you have achieved so much in your life, Let's talk about Bamboo U, Chop Value. You've done
that stuff.
Yeah, you've done
Well, then you need
so
to ask
much.
Claude.
That's true. That's true. Okay, if you guys are curious, you can just or Gemini. It's crazy the amount of information that you can actually find about yourself online. If you just ask ChatGPT, Gemini, tell me about this person. There is a whole
Don't try deep research on Perplexity. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet.
I was surprised the amount of stuff that was about me, actually. Let's talk about Bamboo U. Let's talk about Chop Value.
I co-founded Bamboo U with my wife, and we teach people how to design and build bamboo. We run a whole lot of in-person and online courses.
Yeah.
I also help run
it's pretty cool though, right? Because you make miniature bamboo buildings, and then in the end you get to maybe make a big.
Oh, during the course.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
So our 11-day program, we're very focused on the hands-on learning. So we take people through the process of designing and building their own bamboo structure. So we actually build something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's lots of fun, lots of logistics.
Yeah.
And I've also started Chop Value Indonesia here in Bali.
I actually love the idea of Chop Value because it's taking used chopsticks and giving them a second life.
Yeah, so we've got over 200 collection partners in Bali collecting used chopsticks, and instead of them going to the landfill. We've also started with satay skewers now, which turned out to be quite a hazard in the landfill.
Yes, because somebody died. I watched the news. Somebody died because they got tusuk by a satay stick.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I think that's there's one media story about a guy who got tusuk by a satay stick, and then it got infected and he died.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's we've ventured into satay because we're here in Indonesia. And I run PT Bamboo Pure, which is a bamboo construction company. And I've also got Koko Farm, which
Yes,
I
I
actually
love
started
farm.
years ago with my wife Maria also, but then kind of it was closed for a while, and last year we relaunched it with a little farm-to-table restaurant
I love the restaurant.
and developing a farm hospitality concept. Yeah.
I love Coco. So if you guys are ever in Sibang, I would definitely recommend visiting.
Yeah, it's right next to the Green School.
So what occupies you? I mean, you have so many things going on, but what occupies you most these days?
I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm spending most of my time on, if I'm honest, because I feel like there's always so many things to do. But in a nutshell, I feel like, hey, just figure out how to manage a whole lot of different things at the same time is a lot of work, and requires, to get really clear on, as like, someone who's in a kind of decision-making role, how to get really clear on what's important for me to do versus what's important for other people to do. What am I holding on to doing that I don't need to do that somebody else, how do I make sure that I'm a leader who is empowering and not disempowering? Or I think more like, when you're a capable human being, I see this with myself. I also see this with like other people in my companies. It's, there's enablers and then there's disablers.
Okay, let's talk about that.
And disablers are often very competent.
Yeah.
And they have the mentality of, well, it's just faster and easier if I just do it myself.
Yeah, okay.
And so then they're disable other people from having the opportunity to have to do it or hold them accountable to doing it. So, really like seeing my work as really tending other human beings in the professional sense. So that occupies a lot of my time. Like, where do I focus my energy?
Yeah. So it's basically you're leading the pact into a direction, right? And making
Well, yeah, there's there's like a big difference between like operating one thing really well and being really hands-on and involved in every element of it, and then operating multiple things and knowing where you're really needed and where you're not.
Yeah.
And it's hard because nobody else is necessarily going to tell you.
Yeah, like how do you decide where you're needed and where do you spend your time? Because that's like another decision that you have to make.
Well, it's challenging. I think the two things that I've really been focusing on, one is how do you create like organizational clarity? So how do you make sure that you are really clear about, who reports to you, what are the people's jobs that report to you? So that's, the first thing is how do you make sure that you have organizational clarity, like who does what and when, and then that, how do you make sure then the things funnel up to you from that point?
Yeah.
So organizational clarity is really important. And the other one is assessing competence.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you make sure that everybody who works for you can do their job? And I feel like especially here, it's not apparently obvious. Credentials don't always equal competence.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of my time kind of just meeting with people and making sure that they know what they're doing and they're clear on the direction of things, and then that they're competent and capable of doing those things.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I also do a lot of that. So at what point in your life did you realize doing the right thing and building a successful business are not always naturally aligned?
I mean, when did we not realize that, Ria? If you look at our world,
people.
if you just start asking some basic questions about why things are the way they are, you start to realize pretty quickly that doing the right thing and making money are not always aligned.
Yeah. I mean, we see that too. It's like, do we buy the more expensive ingredient that doesn't have palm oil, or do we, it's like, was like the better thing for the environment was cost more, right?
Yeah, and why is that?
Yeah, that. Tell us, why is that?
Why is that? Well, I think it boils down to, anybody who's thought about sustainability, this isn't used to, but there's a lot of externalities that, companies participate in, right? So you don't have to pay the full cost when you buy it. There's lots of ways that companies outsource or externalize costs to human beings, like who don't necessarily have a voice, and to nature,
Yeah.
doesn't have a voice, right? So I mean, it became pretty clear to me, I think, pretty early, and when I started, I guess, I had the luxury of growing up and being in a position of privilege, and so I had time, and people, the conversation around, how do you make impact in the world? How do you do what's right in the world was definitely like there from the beginning.
So your dad was quite pioneer in that field as well. Before
Yeah.
and trendy, right?
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of lined up nicely because I guess I remember being probably 16 and or 15 and being quite interested in sustainability already. I think it's probably just a natural extension of like how I grew up, and then moving from Bali to New York and just seeing that like really big disparity in lifestyle and different ways of being human. And so I kind of had this yearning to go back to sustainability.
How did you grow up? Because that's a really interesting story. Because you grew up mostly in Bali, right?
Mostly in Bali, yeah.
Well, like around in the rice fields, playing in the dirt.
I think we were there.
Yeah, it was. We would like run around the paddies and get so muddy, remember?
Yeah. And that rice field is now a hotel, I think.
150.
On Jalan Bisma.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if anybody still remembers that Jalan Bisma used to be rice fields.
Yes. There was nothing actually. There's hardly any electricity. Like we had kerosene lamps growing up.
I have a vague memory of that, but I feel like your mom was also like much more committed hippie than my parents were. So she might have avoided the electricity for longer than we did.
We didn't grow up with aircon either.
Yeah.
Strain on the environment.
In fact, I didn't grow up with aircon either, thinking about it. Like, I literally think like, I'm pretty sure like maybe my dad had aircon in his house, but only in his room, not in my room. But by that point, things had already shifted.
Yeah.
So I mean, I grew up in Bali.
I think growing up the way we did, I think we learned a lot about nature and how to respect it, right? Because it was our playground.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't really have any reference, right? So like my only reference is growing up in Bali. I guess my reference is my son, who's also grew up in Bali. And even for him, the experience is different, like I think it was much more free and safer. And I guess the expectations might have been a little bit different too, but like I just have a lot of memories of growing up in the rice fields, catching dragonflies, really having a lot of unstructured playtime, having a lot of Balinese friends who knew how to do really cool things like put little tiny nets in birds' nests that then when the bird goes back into the nest, it catches them,
Wow.
which is probably, now that I'm more sustainably minded, might not have been the best thing, or how to poison all the fish in the river, or how to look for shrimps, or how to
Shrimps, like freshwater shrimps?
yeah, we used to go like eat or collect freshwater shrimps and eat them,
Yeah, I
or
remember.
go fishing for like tiny fish.
Yeah, and then you fry them.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
find jackfruit sap and then and then catch the dragonflies
Yes,
with it,
yes.
or find the hornet's nest and eat the babies in soup. I don't remember what it's called. Has something tawon for sure. Uh,
Was it tasty?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't really remember. Even then, I was kind of look at it sideways, be like, "Are you sure, guys?" Yeah,
Yeah.
I, w- I went oh yeah, it's really good, and I was like, okay, but I don't. I guess I mean it's so full of spices
Yeah,
that
we can't taste them anyway. It's just like a little crunch.
yeah. Yeah. So from a Western perspective, it was definitely unique.
And then going back to New York, that must have been as well so eye-opening, you know, Bali, New York. Back then, it must have been so different.
Well, yeah, I went from running around in the village, and I guess I had a little bit of context because my parents sent me to the Bali International School, where I mean, I guess the main memory is I have to wear shoes
Yep.
to go there. So I remember I don't remember going to school, but I remember getting into the car, and the commute to Ubud was really far, right? It was an hour
Yep.
to get home. And I was an Ubud kid. Most of the expats lived near the beach, but for some reason my parents lived in Ubud. I guess with your parents. I had and so I remember having taking off my shoes and be like, oh yes, breathe again. This is great. And take off my shoes, and then I felt like my day really started around 3:30 when I got home, and got into the village, and got on my bike, and so it was. Then at 12, I went to New York. My parents. I was a bit of a problem in primary school.
No, no.
Had a hard time with the reading and the writing, so they decided to send me to school in New York, and my mom came with me. It was in upstate New York, just to clarify. So it wasn't like I was all of a sudden in the city, but just culturally, it was really different. I had to wear a suit and tie to school with a blazer,
Wow.
dress shoes.
How did that feel, though? You know, such a
Terrifying.
Yeah. Okay.
Terrifying. I talk about Bali, and all the kids would look at me funny and tell me to be quiet. It took me about 2 years to really adjust.
That's quite a long time for a little kid.
Yeah. Definitely traumatic.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely gave me a lot of perspective on how different there are lots of different ways to live as human beings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And do you think that shaped the way that you look at life and sustainability today?
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of what I do is really connected to teaching people that they have agency and there are multiple ways to behave, and just because we're raised to believe and think certain things actually is our choice.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of decisions that are in our control, and the way we live our lives is really up to us. And everybody has different challenges and unique circumstances that give them different options and different levels of agency. But I think on a fundamental level, everybody has the power to choose something.
I mean, look at you, what you've chosen as well in your life.
What do you mean?
You've chosen quite a hard path because me, even when we work with sustainability partners and we do the work, it's actually double the work because the field is not really there. The ecosystem for sustainability isn't really there yet. So when we source ingredients and stuff, we actually have to go the extra mile. Sometimes we have to talk to the farmers hey, we want to grow this. Can you please grow it this way, this way? We use so much coconut oil in our production. And so we decided to invest in a coconut oil plantation so that we could get sustainable coconuts.
Yeah.
So we had to go the extra step and be vertically integrated because the systems are just not there yet when we talk about sustainability. And I feel the same is for you. The systems are not there, that you're basically creating the systems for sustainability.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a guidebook.
I definitely, I mean, so on one level, yes, I'm choosing to do something that's harder than maybe the alternatives for me. But on another level, I have a lot of privilege, right?
Yeah.
So my dad built a very successful company in Bali, and he really started, I think, my sister and I on the journey around bamboo.
Uh-huh.
And so, but yeah, bamboo is hard in the sense that we're definitely pioneering an industry. There are
Right.
no standards. There's a lot of greenwashing around it. We have a lot of people copying what we started in a way that's not as high quality. And
Basically, yeah, I feel like we
it's,
might be giving you like a bad rep as well, right? Because like when I see bamboo buildings here in Bali, it all stems from the work of like your family, right?
yeah, so my dad definitely, well, my dad and a few other people, my dad was inspired by Linda Garland, and she had been working on it for quite some time. And we brought a lot of information from places like Colombia that really pioneered the bamboo movement, and the work of, a few people that figured out how to treat bamboo. So it's not like we came up with it all ourselves,
No,
but
no.
but he definitely pioneered and made a stand.
But you basically, I feel like your family basically took bamboo and made it luxury, like elevated it.
So we definitely took a stand for bamboo in a way that nobody else
Yeah.
had. First with the Green School, then with Green Village, and then from there, we built over 200 unique structures at PT Bamboo, and with the work of my sister Alora, and Ibuku, and with my dad. So I think we definitely took a stand for pioneering bamboo, and we helped reimagine what was possible.
Yes.
And we really use bamboo in ways that change the game, and have become, everybody's
Inspiration.
Pinterest inspiration. And to be honest, some people copy us and they do a relatively good job. And I mean, to be fair, I think to the people who are quote unquote copying our work, a lot of that's client driven. So they're just responding. The clients are showing them photos and then they're saying they can do it. And the risk is really when they do it like outside of our own business interests, or market capture interests. The real risk from a systemic point of view is that that's not like they say they make these buildings, and if they don't actually have the capacity to engineer those buildings properly and build those building properties, they build them and then they start to fall apart
Yeah.
after 5 years, and then that gives the whole industry a really bad reputation
Yes.
and forces everybody towards like the lowest common denominator. And I guess my biggest fear is that the authorities crack down, or people decide that bamboo buildings are unreliable or not good. And so this is like a major issue. And so there's a lot of people that are eroding the reputation of bamboo by just quite frankly doing things that they shouldn't really be doing.
I mean, I've been to one of your construction sites, and I think what I didn't realize is like every bamboo tree is unique. So, like when you're building, you have to really look at each bamboo and then where is it going to fit? And it's quite an art, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, there's a certain amount of systems
Yeah.
actually in place. So, like, if you take our Bamboo U course, you'll learn a lot about the different structural systems we use, the different processing systems we use. But ultimately, there's still a lot of information that is determined by the craftsmen who have to select the particular pole and put that pole into the right place in the building. And their skill or lack of skill has a major impact on the final outcome of the building. So, unlike, conventional construction, which is very much based on this kind of industrial
Yeah.
kit of parts, they call it, right? So everything's kind of predetermined and it's just like putting it together. So there's a higher level of craft and intelligence is required.
I didn't realize how much craftsmanship it actually took and how much care you take for the bamboo, like the treatment you put in, like all these solutions before it's even reaching somebody's house or building.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of steps, but I mean, every process has a lot of steps. I think the difference is, making concrete or cement has a lot of steps too, right?
Yeah.
You have to produce that cement. There's a whole supply chain. You have to mine it. Bamboo is the same. You have to go harvest it, and then you have to grade it, then you have to treat it, then you have to clean it and process it into the shape or size you want, and then you get to use it. The difference is that it's new and the supply chain isn't developed, right? You can't just go to the hardware store and buy bamboo like you
Yeah.
can cement. So, it can feel like you're swimming upstream sometimes. And I think especially if you look at the way development goes in Bali, and I mean, one of the big things that I see in Bali happening that really concerns me and I really feel a little bit depressed about is I feel like the tourism and real estate market is really moving from being like a value-based proposition where Bali's this really unique place to really it being commodified into being more of a cost.
Yeah.
I see all these Instagram posts about how cheap it is to live in Bali and have your, lifestyle in Canggu and your smoothie is only $3 and all this nonsense. And then if you took a drone photo where all these people are living, having their amazing Bali life, it looks like a total slum.
Yeah.
Because they've basically paved over all of Canggu with really like subpar construction.
And you really notice it when the weather gets bad, like the flooding, the cracks in the wall, the mold.
It's a lot of I hear. I heard a great story next to Green School. So Green School, we're doing some development around Green School, Green Village. We're still building some bamboo houses, and the Green School has brought a lot of value to the area where it is, Siban, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the land prices have increased, and a lot of people are buying or wanting to live there
Yeah.
and go to Green School. But the irony is, a lot of those people are building crappy concrete houses. And I just heard a story about this couple with like a pregnant couple and with two kids, and they're in one of these like new villas that's 163,000 euros. I'm probably not getting the number exact, but it's a concrete modern box that's painted white. Has nothing to do with the bamboo based development we're doing, and it's just poorly built. And they had a massive fire because their MEP wasn't installed properly and their electrical panel started melting, right? So you just experience a lot of this stuff. Looking at how challenging the building industry already is in Bali and how quickly it's moving and how that capacity or that competence isn't necessarily there with the people that are building these things. And then adding bamboo on top of that, it's definitely, we're setting ourselves up for a lot of headaches.
What could go wrong?
Knock on bamboo, so far we haven't had any catastrophes. A few hard moments, but nothing.
I really feel you about like the electricity and about the building in Bali, because like building this factory, very selective. Like we paid a fortune for the MEP and we paid a fortune for like extra cable that wouldn't burn, because I'm not taking the risk because our previous warehouse burnt down, because of electricity malfunction.
It's always the electricity.
Yeah. And even like the bricks, I was not going to touch those cinder blocks. You just throw them on the ground, they just smash. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
So we got like special like white brick, like strong enough, and obviously paid a fortune for it. But like, because when people come here, they're like, oh, we're going to build a villa. It's going to be gorgeous. We're going to like rent it out on Airbnb or whatever. But actually the reality is,
it's only the cost $199.
Yeah. But the reality is, you get what you pay for,
You get what you pay for in Bali, like everywhere else. So I think like everybody who's coming here and doing it because it's cheap is really doing the island a big disservice.
Yeah.
There are lots of advantages and like, lots of ways to create value here because things are more affordable. But to do it on the basis of affordability and then discounting any desire to really create real value or quality for the experience of the island is really like, so it's just hard to watch.
Yeah. I find it hard to watch, like just even in Ubud, just seeing how everything's changed. It's more like copy and paste. Like it's losing its culture a little bit, because just like somebody say something trendy, a lot. You see a trendy cafe, and then like before you know it, like Ubud's just full of them, and it's like similar,
Yeah, they're all the same.
Yeah, like cookie cutter.
Lack of originality.
Yeah, which I think what you're doing is super unique. When you go to Cool Farm, it's like a whole. I feel like it's very authentic, like Balinese experience. More.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like you have to be careful when you talk about Balinese culture. First of all, I'm essentially a Canadian who grew up here, so I'm not.
But you can speak Balinese.
I can speak Balinese. I feel like I probably understand Balinese culture as well as you can from an outside perspective. But I think it's really important, first of all, not to like turn Balinese culture into like some kind of a museum artifact.
Yeah.
And I even see like local politicians doing this, like kind of this idea of cultural preservation, where it's like, it's this thing that's been set. Mm-hmm. When really like it's this constantly evolving thing. And like, I don't really know, like I think Balinese people need to get to decide, what is Balinese culture and how is it going to evolve and change in the future. And I really hope that, they feel that they have the agency and autonomy to do that, and that the external pressures of modernization and commercialization don't like take that away faster than they can really set their culture on their own terms.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it's important. Like, what we've done isn't really about Balinese culture. It's really about understanding how to connect local culture and what makes a place really unique with interesting and innovative ideas that people haven't thought of before, right? So how do you connect innovation and craftsmanship, things that people have done for a long time, with new ideas? How do you connect new designs and creative kind of out of the box wild concepts with it being relevant and in line with that place, like making a crazy, pink elephant structure in Canggu might be appealing to you, but does that really have any context to
Yeah.
Bali? Like, maybe not, right? So
Yeah.
how do we make sure that we develop new and innovative things that are
Culturally,
culturally
traditionally relevant, right?
culturally relevant, like they speak to the place, and they, even though they're new and innovative, they really are woven into the fabric of where you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places you just feel like, if I blindfolded you and took you to parts of Seminyak and Canggu and took the blindfold off and you didn't know where you were or what country you were in, you could be in multiple like random places in Southeast Asia. You wouldn't necessarily know, like, oh, I'm in Bali.
Yeah, that's true. You said something interesting, because you said that being a pioneer requires a very high tolerance for failure and pain. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I just think that, like, a lot of people do what they do just because it's easy and tested. You mentioned like the copy paste. People they want to do what's safe, what's predictable. They want to do what they know. And I think,
Because you're not doing anything that we know.
but I'm living in a context with my family where it's like a little bit more possible. And I think coming from a place of privilege, like, I have the opportunity to do that. I don't say this from a place of like judging other people and what they're not doing right, because everybody's on their own path. But like, people, I mean, and myself too, you want to do what's comfortable. You want to do what you know. You don't want to step outside of the box a lot of the time, because it's painful and uncomfortable, because as soon as you start doing things differently, you run into really having to face yourself and what you're not good at and what where your shortcomings are.
Yeah.
You have to fail.
Yeah.
And you have to like own up to the fact that you made decisions that haven't led to the outcomes that you hope for. You have to deal with a lot of stress, and like you have moments in the middle of the night where you're like, oh my God, like, am I going to get arrested for like
You have a lot of these.
problem?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen if this doesn't work out? And like, am I going to end up in jail because like some contractor didn't, install something properly? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and like, and there's the normal, like, humans like to do things that are predictable, and like we like to create standards and procedures. And so being a pioneer, you're operating outside of that, and you're trying something different and new, and that's really scary. And people are more than happy to tear you down when they get a chance.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's gonna just
Criticism
say,
is so
oh well,
easy to get.
you're being a pioneer, so it's okay. They're kind of, so that's what I mean when I say that.
There's always going to be haters.
Well, that's another interesting thing about doing things. When you want to do something different, when you want to do something that you feel is right, you're not going to be compared to all the people that are quietly doing what's wrong, and it's just socially accepted.
Yeah.
You're going to be compared to the gold standard of doing everything perfectly. So, if you're building bamboo buildings, there's going to be a few people that don't know anything about bamboo and are like, well, you must be chopping down all the bamboo and destroying the world because you're using all the bamboo up. And little do they know that actually the concrete building industry uses way more bamboo as scaffolding and formwork than we will ever use in any of our buildings. So
That's incredible.
so you know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of stuff like that. And then there are other places where it's like, we have a farm and we have a little restaurant, and I'm creating this concept that really connect people to their food and to the landscape. But of course, as soon as you tell them that actually it's not all from the farm, because my farm is only 1.5 hectares,
Yeah.
and the restaurant serves like, I think it served like 1,700 people last month. So it's like, how am I gonna get all that? Then they're surprised. Oh, it doesn't all come from the farm?
I think
Like, what's wrong with you? Like, how can you have a restaurant that says it's farm to table, but not everything comes from your farm?
people don't understand like how much sheer volume of land it takes to make like X amount of
Well, that's my
crops.
point.
Like,
But that's the level of ignorance we've come to, right? Where people like have this idea, they're like, oh yeah, it's just all grown here. On average, to feed one person, you need about 3 acres, which is about 1.5 hectares. And I might not
for
be
one
getting
person.
I might not be getting these stats exactly right, but there's people who have studied this stuff, but that's so my farm can feed one person for the year.
Yeah.
If they grew everything themselves there, which wouldn't make any sense and would be like illogical because not everything grows well there. But I think the point is that you're not compared to the other actors in the market who are quietly doing what might not be right,
Yeah.
but is normal. You're compared to some kind of mythical gold standard of perfection.
I think also when we talk about sustainability, one thing that's not talked about is like the honesty that you have to tell yourself, like, this is not 100% the solution, but it's better than what already exists, you know?
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect. It's just about doing it differently and having less negative impact on the environment.
And it's also about like getting past the labels, right? Like I mean, you see like the new label everybody loves now is like, we're going to be regenerative, like,
What is that?
I mean, I've been aware of this term since like 2005 or something, because my godparents really inspired me, had the Regenerative Design Institute. But now like Bayer is talking about being regenerative by like telling their farmers like the optimal amount of Roundup to put on their crops, right? So it's just been so diluted, and there's so much like mumbo jumbo, like fake kind of greenwashing, like dishonesty around it. So I think that we have to really, like, as human beings, when we're doing whatever we're doing, it's not about like people congratulating you or telling you how sustainable you are. It's not about being the most sustainable. It's really not about the label. It's about how do we actually like make the actions happen. And a lot of the time, I think like the most impactful things aren't even necessarily acknowledged or known.
Yeah. So what is this? We speak about all that, but what has it cost you, to be here, to do what you're doing, if anything?
I mean, probably a certain amount of enjoyment, a certain amount of like fun. I mean, when you work really hard, you end up, sacrificing other things. And so I think it's a real challenge to find like the sweet spot between how do you do things that are, you know, both good for others and good for like the mission that you're embarked on, but also you need to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
So it's very easily can start costing you. But it also, there's also a lot of benefits to it, right? It brings you a lot of meaning. Even if it's hard, you learn a lot. And I feel like I have a great life and I wouldn't trade it for anything, even though it's hard and challenging sometimes. And it's really important to like practice gratitude and practice humility and practice how to just really make the most of what you're given each day. And when you have hard moments, to remember that you probably won't even remember it in, maybe 3 days, if not 3 months, if not 3 years. There's a time scale to everything.
And there's this delicate balance, right? When we talk about like what you're doing, your values, and then also like the market realities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one really important thing that a lot of people don't understand is like sustainability is like a vitamin for a lot of like consumers and people. Like the honest truth is like people want to feel like they're doing the right thing for the environment, but they have way more pressing needs. Like it just feels so far away compared to like whatever economic circumstances or whatever health circumstances or whatever emotional circumstances they're in that moment. And so being, having a company that's kind of branded as being better for the planet, it doesn't get you really that far from a consumer point of view. People don't purchase like even our bamboo structures. Like very few people at the end of the day, I think if you ask them the main reason for buying them, I don't think it's because it's better for the planet. I think it's probably because it's really beautiful and creative. It uplifts them emotionally. It makes them feel like they're engaged in something that gives them more status. It might make them feel like, they're more connected to nature on like a felt or like a subjective level. And then it's also great that it's out of bamboo and they feel like they're doing something that is genuinely less destructive.
Yeah. And how do you balance like making a profit and then also balancing the sustainability factor?
I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, to be honest with you, bamboo construction and doing work on a business level related to bamboo is not a particularly profit-driven enterprise. Like, it's not something that's going to make us a ton of money. I mean, the one place where it has a lot of potential, I think, economically is really in the hospitality space because the customer gets to experience that and it gives a lot of experiential value to the customer and really sets you apart from a lot of other hospitality venues. But actually building and constructing or teaching people about bamboo, I think profit is something that we need to achieve to be sustainable. More than it is the main thing that drives me to do it. Like if I wanted to just make money, I'm sure there are simpler ways to do it.
Yeah. So why do you do it then? Because it is difficult.
Well, I think it's inspiring. I think when I run a course and I see how it moves people and how it encourages them to change behavior and encourages them to make the world a better place, like I feel really good about that. And so I keep doing it. And every time, there are moments where I'm like, you know what, this is really hard. We just close all this stuff down, have a few more restaurants or something. But, but and somehow like every time that thought comes, like something happens or there's some little win or some little thing that gives you just the capacity to keep going and keep promoting what we're doing, because I think ultimately it also has a life of its own,
Yeah.
like
'Cause
I think
every time you inspire somebody to like think about things differently and create change, you are already creating change.
exactly,
Person by
yeah.
person.
Yeah. I mean, so you never really know the ultimate impact of what you do, right? And I mean, just because you can quantify it or label it doesn't mean that that's the full story.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's also what keeps me going as well, actually. The people.
The people.
The people that we can change. Even if
Yeah,
they work for us, people that buy our products, we can show them a different way, Like
absolutely.
actually this is something that's doable. You guys can do it.
Yeah, and not only is it doable, but it's essential to do. And like I said, like doing what's right isn't always gonna line up with doing what's easy or doing what other people will agree with. Um, and it's really like I feel like a lot of people just have a hard time with that.
Yeah. And one of the things I have a hard time with is like in the world that we've built today, when we talk about like capitalism, we talk about convenience, we talk about putting profit first. For people like us, especially you, like there's sometimes it's hard to find where do you fit in,
Where do you
the
fit in?
system that's already built for so long that's like not always sustainable and like
Where do you fit in the system?
yeah.
I mean, so, the system would love to just kind of co-opt you and fit you into the system in some niche category, which it does, right? But I think,
Because I mean,
does it matter
I think
if you
fast,
fit in?
right? Everything's like fast, right? Fast fashion, fast consumerism. But I feel like where it's at is like just slowing it down because the more fast we consume, the more fast we take things, the more fast we're taking things from the environment, right?
Yeah, and I think you're kind of hitting a very core tension of capitalism, which is capitalism isn't a lot. And I mean, the saying, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you know the hammer works. It worked for you for a bunch of things. And capitalism is the same. Like, it's really generated a lot of wealth, a lot of innovation, a lot of really incredible things for humanity. But like, it doesn't do everything, and it has limits.
Yeah. I mean, you have a very interesting perspective on capitalism when we did our pre-interview.
Oh, I did. I don't remember.
You said it won't last.
Well,
choice. Basically, you said a choice. We can either keep going or we can go differently, and that will determine how we end up
well,
in the future.
well, it's like, the whole idea of capitalism, which is that we can grow indefinitely without limits, is, I'm not a physicist, but I think that the physicists will tell you that that's not probably accurate. And so as we grow and as we, make the market bigger and make the economy more important and make everything faster and more efficient, and like if we're constantly moving in one direction, there's something tells me that that's just not going to work forever. And so it's going to have to evolve into something different. I mean, even if you just look at demographics, right? Like,
Yeah.
capitalism is fueled by the fact that there's all these more people every year in the world, which means there's more consumers, right? And so, it's all about kind of getting to as many consumers as possible and growing value through capitalism. But like, we're already seeing like the massive disparities that's creating. We're seeing the massive there's like a massive cost to that.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna have to change. And I think it's challenging and scary for people because people don't know what it's gonna change into. And I mean, as soon as the global population, probably not in our generation, but in my kids' generation, and my grandkids' generation, like, there's very likely every year going to be less and less people. And okay, maybe that'll be made up by robots and everybody will live like kings. If Elon gets his way, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. Like, I can't determine the future, but it boils down to like, okay, how do we create a system that really serves everybody's humanity?
Yeah.
Right? How do we create a system that builds virtue and dignity, and a sense of like fulfillment and what it really means? How do we maximize what it means to be human? Right? And I think AI is doing this more than anything else, which is like, it's forcing us to really be like, okay, who are we really?
Yeah.
Who are we really when we strip away all this stuff? Humans, I think, really identified as being, oh, well, okay, we're the species that can do the fastest thinking and like, really understand the world in an intellectual way. Well, now we have computers that are showing that, that's actually, if you look at like a graph of how AI is going to impact the workforce, I think like probably like groundskeeping is near the bottom, where like we're still going to need people to like sweep the leaves up, but then like, creating multi-page Excel reports
Yeah.
about complicated accounting stuff is gonna just be a computer, right? So
True.
so I think it's like, capitalism pushing us to really see, okay, what are our limits, and if we move beyond this kind of like growth at all costs mindset, like, where are we gonna go?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's a really important question, and I think more people need to be asking it.
I mean, you did say also something like hopeful about regenerative design and development can coexist. I think that was really interesting. Different.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's important, like, if your main focus is, okay, how do I live my values? How do I create the world to be more in line with what I as a human being care about and what I think is going to benefit other people and me, right? And of course, everybody's going to have a slightly different version of that. And I think having those conversations and really, how do we create more agreement, more discourse, more concord, like more just sense of like everybody's on the same page with certain things. There are lots of niches, right? There are lots of places in this chaotic, crazy, capitalistic, dog-eat-dog world. There are lots of places and lots of opportunities to carve out a place where we can start doing that meaningful work, right? And you see that with whether it's helping people make sure they don't put toxins on their body, or helping people make sure that when they go on holiday, they're having an experience that's a net positive experience for that place. There are lots of niches to carve out in that space. And I think, if you look at what I'm doing and what you're doing, it's about looking for those places and doing what you're capable of doing and cutting out all the noise and all the people say, well, not everybody can do it, so then nobody should do it.
Yeah.
Or, well, since you haven't had it all worked out, then you shouldn't try to work it out. It's like, it's a lot of people think that it's okay to live in complacency, or to just like throw their hands up and just go along with the way things are, because it's easier to pretend that we're powerless. It's much harder to stand up and be vulnerable and be like, actually, you know what? I can make a difference. I might not always make it right. I'm probably going to make lots of mistakes, but I'm going to stand up and do what I believe. Regardless of how other people are going to respond. Like, that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
It's much easier to be like, well, everybody builds with concrete. Everybody's making a concrete villa.
I should do it too.
in Indonesia or in Bali for $3.99. So then I should do it too, because like it seems like a quick way to make some money, and well, it's not a big deal because it's everybody's doing it. And the environment's screwed anyway. I hear that is, oh well, everything's already, we're all doomed anyway. We're all gonna die in some nuclear catastrophe. So we might as well just have another beer and continue doing whatever we're doing for as long as we can and enjoy it while it lasts. And it's just like a really depressing mindset if you really care about anything beyond your own self.
Yeah.
And so like I think, how do we really encourage people to think beyond just what is important to them, to what is important to their larger community, what is important to humanity, and then what is important to all those other life forms that may not have a voice, but are still trying to make their way on this planet.
Amen. So true. That brings me to what still gives you hope?
Every time I take a breath, I feel a little bit of hope because I'm still breathing. They've got this great saying in Indonesia called "masih hidup." And so it's like, and I just love it. It's like, yeah, and even when we're having a really hard day, we're still alive, still breathing. It's pretty incredible. Like the fact like all of this is happening at all, like blows my mind. We're this little planet circling around a giant star. Suspended in nothingness, and we're the only version of this planet that we can find as far as we can look with the most complicated telescopes we've ever found or that we've ever developed.
So let's protect it. Let's take care of it.
Let's take care of it. And hope is a choice.
Yeah.
Hope isn't something that you get from somebody.
Hope is a choice.
Hope is a choice.
Yes.
So what's going to give you hope is choosing to have it. I mean, if you think about, there's so many examples of people in terrible circumstances that have way more hope than people that are sitting in their apartments, ordering pizza, drinking probably way too much sugary drinks, and have shopping on their phone, and they're totally hopeless. And they have everything they could possibly need, and all they really need to do is get up off their couch and go do something important that gives them meaning in the world. So hope is a choice.
Yeah.
And so it gives me hope is choosing that every time I take a breath that, we're still here and there's still things to do.
What do you hope people leave thinking about after hearing your conversation or our conversation?
I hope that they leave thinking about what they can do in their own lives to help protect our humanity, and to help protect our planet, and think about how they can be a little bit more relevant and meaningful in their community and to the people they care about the most, and that to really focus on what can I do and how do I look in, instead of looking out. And because I see a lot of people look out and they either think, oh, well, there's so many other people that are doing much more incredible things, so who am I and what can I do? Or they look out and think about how all the other people are doing everything wrong and how they should, they need to focus on tell all the other people how to do it right, instead of really looking inside and be like, okay, how do I focus on my own shortcomings and my own gifts and make the most out of those?
This is a question from the last guest. So in life, we have many paths, right? And basically the question is there any point in your life where you thought, if I went the other way, my life would have totally, totally changed.
As I got older, like more and more this idea comes up. And when I made the most consequential decisions when I was younger, I feel like this wasn't even like a thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I think like my life probably would have ended up really different if after high school I had just gone straight to college. Instead, like I got, conned in by my father, who's my father and also extremely convincing, to come back to Bali and be a translator for the chief kind of German bamboo builder that was helping develop a lot of the concepts. So I came back and basically interned for him. And then I went traveling around South America and had a lot of really incredible experiences. And I think that really changed the trajectory and really helped deepen my life. And then even university wasn't so much about creating a credential or creating a sense of, like needing to like learn a certain skill per se. It became really about a sense of personal or self-exploration and really like understanding what's really important. And so I think if I had made a different choice and I had just gone straight to university, I think things would be really different. So that year was really hard, especially when I was interning at that for my dad's German builder. I think it really set me on a different trajectory that really also kept me closer to the family business, even after I left and came back. Another, I think, important choice was my high school. I was in a school in New York that it was kind of clear I needed to move on from. And my mom really wanted me to move back to Canada. I was going to put me in like a public school. And I was like, no way. I had enough different changes in my life. Like at least put me in like a school that's similar to what I've already experienced. So she put me, I ended up in this school, that was a school related to the Baha'i faith that was really random. It was on a little lake in Canada, and it had kids from all over the world. And it was the first time I really felt at home because I was surrounded by all these people that had similar kind of intercultural experiences of maybe having being third culture, and then that was also woven into this idea of a Baha'i idea around the unity of mankind and the oneness of all religions and the importance of like tolerance and understanding. And so I think that also, and years later, I actually decided to become a Baha'i. But that really, I think, set me on a certain trajectory, that if I had not made that choice to like, choose to kind of find that prep school in Canada, like it could have very easily ended up anywhere else, in lots of different situations that would have probably led to very different outcomes.
Wow.
And I feel like all day long, and especially like the thing about that question that's interesting to me is I feel like the most consequential decisions happen in youth
Yeah.
when we're least aware of them. And the older we get, the less important those decisions get, and the more we overthink them.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the more we stay in the same lane.
and the more we stay in, well, path dependency, right? So like once you make A, B, C, D, E, F, it's very hard to do anything other than G.
Yeah.
And so I think for anybody who's young and listening, like, when you're younger, those decisions can be really important, and, follow your instincts and like make bold decisions and think about your future.
Yeah. Well, your turn. Question for the next guest.
I'm going to make it really like concrete.
Okay.
What are you going to do in the next 6 months to change the world? Given that the theme has been about inspiring other people to make a change.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks,
I
Rhea.
learned a lot. And yeah, till the next one.
Hopefully it was okay.